For any foreigner living in Japan, one of the important things that you need to be mindful about is the validity of your visa or your status of residence. Of course, you wouldn't want to be deported or to be thrown out of this country once the authorities found out that your stay here is no longer legal, thus making you an illegal alien in Japan, right? So in this video, I'm going to share how to renew your status of residence or how to apply for an extension of the period of stay of your dependents here in Japan. So by the way, if you haven't yet, please do check out one of my previous videos on how to apply for the certificate of eligibility, which is an important document for you to be able to bring your dependents to Japan. So for the application of the extension of the period of stay, or Zairyo Kikan no Koshin Kyoka in Japanese, you can actually apply within 3 months before the expiration date of the existing visas of your dependents. Just make sure that you have all the necessary document requirements to be submitted to the nearest regional or district immigration office. So for those who are living in Kansai, we have 3 regional or district immigration offices. We have the Osaka Regional Immigration Office, the Kobe District Immigration Office, and the Kansai Airport District Immigration Office. So for the rest of Japan, here are the other regional offices of the Immigration Office. And for the document requirements, if you still remember the documents or the requirements that you submitted when you applied for the certificate of eligibility of your dependents, basically it's just the same except for the return envelope or the self-addressed return envelope. All the other documents, again, basically they're just the same except for a few specific forms. So first, you need the application form for extension of period of stay. This is available at the regional or district offices of the Immigration Bureau, or you can also download the form from the immigration website. So I'm going to be sharing also the link in the description box. Note, however, that this new form, this application for extension of your period of stay is different from the one that you submitted when you applied for a certificate of eligibility. So you only need 1 copy of this form for each of your dependents. So you don't need to have it photocopied, just print it out or just get 1 copy from the regional office. The next requirement is a 4 by 3 centimeter picture or 40 by 30 millimeters. So for the specifics of the picture, make sure that you're not wearing any covering of the head or you don't wear cap, and then that your background must be plain. The color is not stated, but if you use the photo booths all over, actually it's all over. Usually it's near train stations or near convenience stores. So you can just choose there whether it's blue or white, so it doesn't matter. It's not specified in the requirements. You can actually get one on your way to the immigration office. Just look for a photo booth. Usually it's from 800 to 900 yen. And then make sure to write your name at the back of the picture. And then you have to paste it on the space provided for the picture on the application form. So the third requirement is the passport and the residence card of your dependent or dependents. So you don't need to photocopy those passports or residence cards. Just bring the actual passports or the actual residence cards and then show them to the immigration staff. The fourth document that you need to submit is the proof of relationship of the applicant and the taxpayer or the guarantor or sponsor. You only need 1 copy of any of the following documents. One is your family register. You can get it from the ward office. Just tell the staff there that you need you're going to get a copy of your family register. I don't know if this is available in the printing services of convenience stores. So, but to be sure, just go to your ward office and request for the family register. Another one is a certificate of acceptance of your notification of marriage. So I'm not familiar with this document. Maybe it's for dependents whose spouses are Japanese nationals, or maybe for both foreign nationals who got married in Japan and that they need to inform their specific embassies or consulate offices of their marriage. Another possible document that you can show as proof of your relationship to the applicant is a photocopy of your marriage certificate. That's for your spouse, and for your child, that's the birth certificate. Remember that when you are applying for your spouse, you only need your marriage contract, a copy of your marriage contract. You don't need to submit a copy of your spouse's birth certificate. But for your child, you have to submit a copy of birth certificate. If these documents are in English or in any other languages, make sure that you have a translation, in a Japanese translation of these documents. So you don't need to have it translated by a professional translator. So in my case, when I applied for the certificate of eligibility of my wife and my son, and of course now that they're renewing their visas, I translated by myself. So the translation that I made, the template that I made actually has been used and passed on to the other Filipino ALTs who also brought their dependents here in Japan. So yeah, again, you don't need to spend much money for this. You can translate it yourself, or you can just ask someone that you know who could translate the documents for you and then submit it to the immigration office. The fifth document that you need to submit for the application of extension of stay of your dependents is a photocopy of the taxpayer's passport or residence card. When we say taxpayer, I'm referring to the guarantor or to the sponsor. So however, for me, because I forgot to have my residence card and my passports photocopied before going to the immigration office, I just showed them my original passport and my original residence card, and they accepted it. So lucky me. And the last document to be submitted is a proof of occupation and income of the taxpayer or the sponsor or the guarantor. So for the proof, it can be a certificate of employment with compensation, or it can be a tax certificate. Remember that the tax certificate that you submitted when you applied for a COE, you requested it from the ward office or from the city hall, right? So the same tax certificate or the same kind of tax certificate should be used also when applying for extension of the period of stay of your dependents. So again, those that tax certificates that can be printed from convenies or convenience stores, the immigration office doesn't accept them. So you have to apply for a tax certificate. Just tell the ward office as a tax certificate indicating all your taxes paid for one whole year. So when we went to the immigration office to apply for the extension of the visas of my dependents, of my wife and my son, I forgot to get a tax certificate from the ward office. But I do have a certificate of employment, but it was in my other bag. And then good thing, I had my notice of appointment, which I got just the day before we went there to the immigration office. And then since it states there, my period of contract to my employer is stated there, and then my compensation is there, the immigration officer, the immigration staff accepted it in place of a photocopy of my certificate of employment or a tax certificate. And then one important thing also, please remember that if your spouse, if your dependent is working part-time, because spouses or dependents are allowed to work part-time, maximum of 28 hours per week. So if they are working, you also need to accomplish and to submit the same form that you submitted when you applied for a permit to engage in other than those permitted by the status of residence that was previously granted. So again, you can download the form from the website, or you can just get a form at the immigration office. And for the steps in applying for an extension of the period of stay of your dependents here in Japan, once you have all the necessary requirements or documents, you go to the immigration office. Again, in Kobe, it's on the second floor of the immigration office building. Upon entering the room, you have to present all your documents and have them checked by a staff at either of the desks by the entrance. Once all your documents are approved or are okayed, you proceed to counter 0, where a staff also has to double check your documents and then gives you a queue number, and then places all your document requirements in a clear folder or clear envelope And then if there's no staff there waiting to pick up your documents, you have to bring them yourself to counter 1 or counter 2. And then just leave your envelope on the document tray there, and then wait for your queue number to be called. If there are no problems with your application, with your documents, and with the information that you put in your forms, in less than 30 minutes, you'll be able to finish the whole process. I mean, you'll be called by an immigration staff, and then gives you back the passports and the residence cards of your dependents, of the applicants. And then before leaving the counter, please make sure to check that you have on your residence card a note that states your new residence card or your new status is being processed. Then you are good to go. So the standard processing time or processing period for the renewal of your period of stay or extension of your period of stay in Japan is 2 to 4 weeks. So within this period, expect that you'll be receiving a postcard notice stating when you can pick up the new residence cards of your dependents. Just make sure that when you receive that postcard, you bring the old residence cards of your dependents. And I think it's better also if you go with them in claiming the new residence cards. I'm not sure if it's allowed that only the taxpayer can pick up the new residence cards of their dependents. I'm sure for if your dependent is a child, is a minor, you can just pick it up on behalf of your child dependent. I'm not sure with the spouse. And then make sure also to bring or print out a certificate for payment fee. You can download it from the website, or you can just get one from the immigration office when you submit your application. So for the certificate of payment fee, you need to buy a revenue stamp worth 4,000 yen. It's available at convenience stores or post offices. Just tell them it's a revenue stamp, or in Japanese, it's called shunyu inshi. So those are the requirements in applying for extension of the period of stay of your dependents, or applying for a renewal of the visa of your dependents. So I hope you learned again something from here. I'll see you again next time.